Hi everyone, in this lab we'll be deploying Apache Airflow inside the EkS cluster. Let's get started. This was the previous state of the EkS cluster we had. So we have EkS cluster, few add-ons, then we also deployed the observability stack. Now we'll be deploying the Apache Airflow inside the cluster, which is open source version. Okay, so Airflow will run a set of pods in the cluster, and it also requires a database. It could be PostgreSQL in this case, where the metadata will be stored, okay, for persistency. So this is what we'll be deploying into the cluster. Let's proceed further. So we need to enable few variables, create db is true and enable airflow true in the tf terraform.tf vars file, and then in the main.tf file we have to provide this to the module. Right now let us go to the main.tf. So this is our main.tf. Inside the module block, I'm enabling these variables. So I'm passing the create db airflow and enable airflow values to this module, and git sync password also I'm mentioning, which is as a variable deployed, which is defined as a variable, because airflow will sync from the GitHub for all the DAGs. Okay, the DAGs are stored in the GitHub, and from where it will be synced to the airflow. We will see that in a minute. So let us proceed further and put in the changes into the GitHub. Push the changes. This should trigger the pipeline like we saw multiple times earlier in the previous labs. So let us go to the code pipeline and check. So the code pipeline is triggered. So you see that it is succeeded and it is proceeding further. It will take some time. Meanwhile, we can go to the GitHub and check the DAGs folder. So this is where the Airflow DAG files are located. So this is the Spark YAML files, Spark application, and this is the DAG for the Airflow to submit the jobs. So we will look into this later in detail, but this is where Apache Airflow will sync the DAGs from this GitHub repo to its container, and that's where you will be seeing that in the UI. Okay, so I'll wait for the uh, pipeline to complete, and then we'll go to the console. So the pipeline completed. So let us proceed further and check whether the airflow pods are created. You see that the airflow pods are created within this namespace. Then we'll also look at the airflow UI ingress URL. This is created as an ingress object, and there is an application load balancer available for the airflow. So let us take that and go to the browser. So I've already entered the username and password, which is admin by default. Now you see there are 4 DAGs available in the DAGs folder. So previously we saw that these DAGs folders are available in the GitHub, and those are synced directly. And you see, some runs, and sometimes it failed. I did some testing, so that's why you see the status of those jobs. But we will get into the each of these DAGs execution in detail in a later lab, but this is to show how Airflow is deployed in the cluster and exposed via application load balancer using an ingress object. Okay. So with this, we conclude the lab for deploying Apache Airflow. Now we'll proceed further for Spark operator into the cluster.